Welcome to another episode of Dog Behavior Q&A. Episode 143. Excuse me, let me pull the mic a little closer to me so you can hear what I'm saying. Okay, so we are live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook once again, answering any and all dog behavior questions that you may have. So bring them. And just know that your questions will help those that are struggling with the same challenges. So don't be shy. Ask any question you like. I'll do my best. Those of you who are watching live, you guys will have the priority. Otherwise, I'm going to go through our questions that I have via email and Facebook and all other common dog questions. Okay, let's get started. Okay. All right. Matt says, "Hey, Jeremy, my German Shepherd, Zoe, is being aggressive with other dogs. Remind me again the best way to handle this and the proper." So I think I may need a little bit more than that. So I'm going to give you a general answer. So I can't give you specifics on your situation, but because I need a little bit more detail. And I don't really know Zoe. So, but typically two things have to happen in regards to your dog being more open to socializing with other dogs. Okay, first and foremost, what I do when I'm introducing my dogs to other dogs is I, on some level, have to be able to get the strange dog, the new dog. I got to get that dog to listen to me a little bit first. Okay, they've got to know their name. And that means when I say their name, they have to respond. Because at a moment's notice, when dogs get uncomfortable or stiffen up, I want them to respond. That's when I want them to respond. And so that I can break that tension right away that may trigger aggression. Now, typically, if you can control the dogs, all dogs, meaning the dog again that you're trying to introduce and the dog that your dog or a friend's dog, then you have to be in control of that dog too. That dog has to sort of listen as well. That's the best bet. And then if you can control the first 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, 5 minutes, then you have a really good shot of both dogs realizing that they're cool. You know, they'll be like, "Are you cool? Because I'm cool. Are you cool? Okay, cool." And then things sort of start on the right foot. And you want to be attentive, obviously. For as long as they have like maybe 3 interactions where they kind of walk away, you know, because they'll typically sniff each other, then maybe walk away, then sniff each other again, and maybe walk away, then sniff each other. So I know that if the dog that I'm working with willingly goes up to the dogs that I have in a playful manner, right? Then I know, okay, now I can start weaning off of being there so closely. Um, and I've got a video on YouTube, a good video on how to do just exactly what I explained. And I throw in a little bit of extra tools and tips. Uh, it goes into pretty good detail about how to introduce any dog to any new dog. And the closer you can follow that, the more success you'll have. All right. Thank you for your question. Feel free to ask another. Okay, next question comes from Chris. Still having issues with Brandy. Like you said, she wants to do what she wants to do. Is crating okay when she does not listen? Thank you. No, crating is not okay. Um, Getting her to listen would be the better solution, because crating just means you don't want to deal with it. And that's why she's not listening. And so, how about addressing the non listening part by making her listen? Okay. Thank you for your question. All right, guys, those of you who are just joined in, please, uh, please ask any questions you like about anything, even if it's not your dog. Ask as many questions you like. We are live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And this is my 14th year doing this. I've been doing it since 2006. 2020 is my 14th year. And it has been a wonderful journey. I still have that burning desire. It really catches me when I can um, give people a very good diagnosis of who their dog really is. I was telling somebody on the phone that I don't necessarily like, I mean, I really just don't anymore, but um, I don't think aggression can be dealt with in a private setting, no matter if it's dog aggression or human aggression. If your dog is fearful, if your dog has separation anxiety, if your dog even come, I mean, maybe you can do that. But if your dog has a list of issues, the best thing to do is to allow your dog to get to know the trainer and allow the trainer to get to know your dog. And that just doesn't happen in an hour once a week or even twice a week. I mean, it will take a lot longer. It can happen, but it can take a lot longer. But how about kind of sending your dog off to college? A board and train is necessary for a lot of dogs that do have um, these deep issues, rooted issues. And rescue dogs are definitely fit that category because you have to undo some of the stuff that has been done, no fault of their own. Um, and that again, it kind of takes a little bit of time. And so it is beneficial in my belief that your trainer should be able to get to know the dog to where again the dog is best, has the best opportunity to be guided. Most dogs be more resilient to a trainer that they don't know or a person that they don't know, obviously, especially if they're human aggressive. They're going to be a little bit more stubborn to someone they don't know. Although, I will say, the stranger factor, some dogs are a little bit like, okay, what you want me to do? And then there are some who says, I don't want you to do this to me because I don't know you. So, so anyway, I really like to get to know the dogs. And so I can really give people proper guidance because I know the dogs like quirks too. There are dogs who they're all kind of similar in general, given breeds and then given, you know, size, gender, whatever. You can categorize these, categorize them in certain different categories, but they all do. They all are individuals. And for those who think their childhood dog is this should be, uh, or they're wondering why their current dog isn't as good as their childhood dog. Uh, well, it's because they're not the same dog. So don't compare your dog, your childhood dream dog. I get a lot of calls. There's people say, "Oh, my childhood dog was just such uh, a wonderful dog with no issues." Well, in reality, maybe that's true, but maybe it's not either. Maybe we just don't remember the issues, um, because the negative thing wears away once they're gone. So, anywho, all right, got a question coming in. Okay. Just what? Okay. All right. Lori says, "Hey, Jeremy, it's Randy talking about crates. When Sammy thinks she did something wrong, she will go in a crate on her own. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. Um, it's a good thing that Sammy does that. Obviously, then you think that the dog, it's a safe place to go. So no, I don't think that that's a bad thing necessarily. Now, if the dog is going there despite in a way not to listen to you, and then I mean it's that then that's not necessarily a good thing, um, because some dogs will do that. So I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. Just depends on the situation. All right, those of you who just joined, please feel free to ask any question you like, and just remember that your question will help others watching this show as well. This show has given me a lot of cool little opportunities, guys. It's been pretty awesome. I don't know. I started doing this a long time ago, though. I started doing live videos since the beginning. Since the beginning was about 2011. Um, I just started to. So there's a lot of videos, old videos that aren't numbered. So if I actually number them, my live video there are a lot more than 143, because I started doing them a long time ago. But this again has given me some cool opportunities and has made me some cool friends across the country. You know, that's been cool. So if any of you guys have a business out there, and you just want to network, this is a cool way to do it. Do some live videos and just talk about your business, or give people some tips. It's been really fun for me. All right, let's keep it moving. What is your favorite game to play with your dog? I like to play tug of war with my dog. Or I just like to wrestle with him. Hey, listen, guys. Uh, Play fighting with your dog is a great way to bond with your dog. They play fight with each other. If you do have a single dog home, it is beneficial for you to get a second dog. It will be more beneficial than not. Dogs are social animals. And especially if your dog has play drive, which is just the drive to want to play with other dogs. It can be beneficial for them to bond. They're bonding um, when they're playing, and I like to do the same. I like to bond with my dogs by playing because I'm kind of like I love wrestling with my dogs, you know. So yeah, it's very beneficial to add a second dog if you only have one. All right, more questions. Okay. Let's see. My German Shepherd is pretty good on walks. Um, doesn't bark, sniff, but he doesn't really like to look at me. Watched a couple of your videos, and I see how your dogs are always looking at you. How can I get my dog to do the same? Well, um, that's a good question now because that can kind of get a little deep. Deep, but eye contact is important. I think it does represent a level of respect. Hey, Pip. Pip's watching. Pippa. She likes Pippa. Go lay down. When people tell me their dog is watching, sometimes sometimes they tell me that the dog goes to their bed just hearing my voice. That's kind of funny. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, eye contact. It's pretty powerful. I've been stressing lately threshold work and the importance of threshold work. Now, listen, I added a little bit to it. I want to start adding a little bit more criteria to it when it comes to threshold training. So here's a little tip. Yes, sit your dog at doors. Okay. And sit your dog at doors, wait for eye contact. Once you have eye contact, then you go out. But when you go out and close the door, do the same thing. And I'm talking about that's going to be real beneficial to try and, especially if you have any sort of fearful, aggressive, or just a dog that pulls or is highly stimulated by its environment, squirrels, other dogs, deer, bikes, cars, whatever it is. After you get out of the door, after you walk out of the door, put the dog in a sit again and allow the dog to um, look up at you without you asking, you know, and that's going to take some time. If the dog just ultimately doesn't look at you, but is sitting there with loose leash, you will get there. You can walk off, but be patient. But again, it's even when you get the dog out of the car, same thing. Put a dog in a sit and then wait for the dog to really settle, because that sort of sets a precedence on you mattering more than the environment. You're taking control right away so that the dog doesn't feel um it has to. Because again, when dogs are fearful, that's exactly what they want to do right away, right? You get out the car, they get out the car and want to go sniff right away. Sniff, 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 sniff. Um, and again, if you're trying to get a dog past a certain issue on a walk, um, do not let the dog indulge right away. Hope that makes sense. She literally groaned. She's so cute. Okay, I went to the dog park the other day and a cane corso peed on my leg. Joking. I told my dog, attack. To surprise. To my surprise, he went after the other. What's the most aggressive dog breed you've come across? Is this actually live? Yes, it's actually live. Jokingly, I told my dog to attack. To my surprise, he went after the other. Uh, uh man. Okay, so my first piece of advice for you is n- not let's not to attack other dogs. That's dumb. And my second piece of advice would be crap happens at the dog park. If you get peed on, it's fine. I mean, no, it's not fine. It sucks, I know, but it is to be expected. So some things you will have to deal with at the dog park. Dog things will happen to you. Okay? All right. Brandy always looks and then goes to one of her beds and lays right down when she hears your voice every week. No wonder you watch this show. The look works very well with her. And like you said, you must be persistent. Thank you again for what you do. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, Rachel, my parents' dog has a bad habit of jumping on tables and stealing things off. Technique to use to rid him of that behavior. Jumping on tables. Wow. Mm-mm-mm. Uh, let's see. Wyland just heard your voice and went in and down. Oh my gosh. I don't know if this is a good thing. Anyway. Um, okay. So dog jumping on tables. Well, there's a lot of different ways to sort of help with that. Um, I think my first go-to would be um try and convince the dog to not around the table, you know? Um, try and convince the dog not to be around the table. They need to uh learn how to get their dog to go lay down on its bed, you know. I mean, they that's what needs to happen if we're talking about wanting to really solve it long term. Take a little bit of effort, but um long term, it's gonna be your best bet or their best bet. Okay, so my next suggestion would be there is a called a doggy don't, literally doggy don't. Um, it costs $50. It makes a sound and it sounds like a taser, and uh, it could work. I give it a 90% chance. That other 10%, the dog will not care about it, but it does work on most dogs. Press the button when the dog is doing something you don't want it to do, and chances are the next time the sight of it will get the dog to think twice about it. That's another way, but there's going to need to be something that will make the dog think twice about doing something that you don't want it to do. They don't want it to do. Okay. Okay. Don't worry, Pippa isn't doing anything in response except groaning, snoring, and letting out dramatic sighs. She's probably like she's probably Like, anyway, I don't know. All right. Next question. You're very welcome. I have a video too, Rachel, on YouTube that maybe you could suggest they watch. I don't know. Some my parents are old school and they don't like watching any kind of, whatever. But there is a video on YouTube called the Place Command that they could watch and uh, implement. It's just they've got to implement a boundary. I mean, bottom line, the dog has got to do something that they tell them to do, as opposed to doing whatever it wants. So, all right, those of you who just joined in, please feel free to ask any dog behavior question you like. We are going to, so join in the conversation. It's fine. I was just surprised he went after a 70-pound Cane Corso. He's a 30-pound cock. Plus, he has never been taught to attack. How would he know what I mean? Are you streaming somewhere else? Yes, I'm streaming on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah. All right. Let's move on. When it comes to dogs who are at dog, first and foremost, I gotta make the typical dog trainer answer to dog parks. I know some of y'all are not going to like it, but that's okay. So, dog parks can be good, probably good for some, probably good for most, but it can be really bad when they're bad. Taking a chance. I mean, you're taking a chance in anything that you do with your dog. You are. Um, Dog parks, you're taking a bigger chance. So, I don't know. I don't necessarily tell people not to go. I just hate it when something bad happens, man. It's tough. Really make dogs hate dogs, you know? There's no control. Okay. Wyland is getting good at going to his place when the doorbell rings, but still skittish if people when in the house. Any extra tips? After a while, he's fine. Listen, don't be too tough on yourself. I think that if Wyland is skittish after people walk in and is fine after a while, and nothing happens that Wyland thinks is going to happen, right? If it does result in a victory in a way where he doesn't have to handle the situation, quote unquote, if he isn't allowed to, again, sort of fall into his insecurities, then it only gets better after time. More control would help, but you want to weigh those options. How much more control do you want versus how much is actually necessary? You don't, on one hand, we have to allow the dog to see for themselves. And then on the other hand, we are responsible for controlling the dog and making sure everyone else is safe. And so we kind of have to, really allow some time for the dog to and there are certain things where it's like, all right, it's time for you to knock it off. But you never know, you never know. You never know what there shouldn't be really a time limit either on a dog's situation or whatever they have been through too. Okay, because it's like kind of rushing them to become comfortable with maybe something that's pretty traumatic. So anyway, bottom line, um, it's tough to tell. But if I, if you want, you can give me a call and maybe I can learn more about what's going on and I can give you some better tips. All right. Thanks for your question. Okay, let's keep it moving. Morgan says we have her prong collar comes out because she knows she is going on a walk in the car or in the car. How do we get her to stop almost taking her eye out when she's trying to put the collar on her? So that's a tough one, but good question. I would put the collar on and then not go for a walk. Put the collar on and go sit on the couch. That's evil. I know. But it's going to teach maybe long term. I mean, it's going to take a while, first and foremost. But it's going to teach the dog that when you become calm, again, it's tough. I mean, there are dogs that, believe me, if you make a movement, they're up and they're like this. Yeah, if you just make a movement. So, on one hand, so you can wait it out, and then on the other hand, you can help get the dog to become calm quicker by giving the dog a command, like down, like go lay down. So if your dog was actually trained to that degree, what you could do is um, once you have the collar on, you have to somehow achieve calm. Um, we've been trying that. I guess we'll continue. Good. Keep continue that. But anyway, you have to achieve calm mindset one way or the other. And sometimes, you know, again, you could put it on and just chill. Um, dog just needs to know that it's not only with the walk. A dog to kind of play with it on, in the backyard or I don't know. But the dog is just triggered by that so much so that it loses its mind. So you'll have to sort of, in a way, disassociate prong collar with walk or car with whatever it was. Um, and what that's kind of called counter conditioning, I guess. Um, but but you also, so I kind of do that with my dogs here, and I do that with the e-collar as well. I don't want my dog's mood to change too much when I'm putting collars on, whether that be happy or sad or anything like that. It should just be calm energy. So maybe give those things a try. I don't know. Thank you for your question, and feel free to ask another. All right. How do you like to address whining from the crate and whining from place? Um, good question. Whining in the crate. I think I only thing I want in the crate is that the dog is doing something for me. And then I'm not too I'm not too crazy about um getting the dog to be quiet, because usually if you can get him to sit or down, repeatedly, that stuff does kind of wean away. And so one of the things I do with my first when I first get a group of dogs is take them on a walk, get them nice and tired, put them in the crate. And then I sit on the couch, probably 20 feet away from them, and um, I just kind of hang out. And they cannot be standing in the crate. They're either in a sit or a down. Um, and then I will purposely, for the next hour or so, walk in and out of the room. I purposely leave the food up uh, up front so I can have an excuse to go get food, bring it back. So now they're getting used to me walking in and out of the room, and the door opening and closing. And so I then still now have the opportunity to re-put them in a sit or re-put them in a down. Um, the other thing you can do is teach crate patience right away, which means that's a really good first lesson, which means opening the door to the crate and then allowing them to do what most dogs do when they come, which is burst out of the crate, and then teaching them that bursting out of the crate doesn't work. So that's how I achieve non-whining dogs and dogs that won't bark throughout the night too. You know. But it's more so again about the time, repeatedly getting them to feel that comfort, how comfortable it is sitting and downing in the crate. Okay. It helps if they're exercise for sure. All right. My dog is fine when wrestling with my husband. If I try to get in on the play wrestling, she gets more aggressive with me. Is this a sign of her wanting to be alpha, and how would I correct this? Thank you. Well, it's the perfect opportunity to show the dog who you are, because that's what dogs do to each other. You know, dogs they play, but they don't just play. They're also having a conversation, especially if if their dynamic is changing or if they are getting to know each other. When dogs are getting to know each other, it's more than just play. People don't even realize what's going on. I videotaped my Great Dane and this German long-haired pointer that I had last round. And let me plug in my computer right quick. And they were not playing. Two males, so they were trying to prove themselves, as typical males do. But anyway, to the average eye, it would have looked like play. But just because they're not fighting doesn't mean your dog is playing. Just because your dog doesn't fight with other dogs doesn't mean your dog is actually social. Humping is not social appropriation. So your dog is humping. Don't take your dog to the dog park until it learns from a dog who won't try and hurt him. See, here's the whole thing about training, right? Here's the whole thing about training. You want to teach your dog these tough lessons. You want to strategize to where your dog can learn these tough lessons inside the parameters of safe territory, not outside in the real world. Because the real world is much harder. Those lessons can be learned in the real world, but the real world is much harder, and they don't care about your dog. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, those tough lessons should be learned at home or with a professional. For example, humping. Your dog shouldn't go to the dog park and hump every dog. It just shouldn't happen. But again, you kind of want to teach your dog not to do that at home so that when it gets attacked at the dog park, because that's a lesson that the dog will learn, and it'll be an unfortunate one. um, and it'll be obviously a very traumatic situation. So all I'm trying to say is, um, you when it's very convenient not to be tough on your dog, which is at home, it is actually the best place to be tough because you want to be tougher actually than the real world will be so that the dog gets along with the real world easier. I give my dogs strong boundaries because I want my dogs to be respectful first and foremost and learn how to deal with the real world. So, think think about your dog's sort of I don't know. Think about how your dog would be in certain situations you're going to be in and then start getting the dog to listen to you. It'll help overall. At the vet's office, it'll show up in all these cool places. The vet's office, the dog park, your dog can be more social with you. How about that? Your dog can be more included in your life if you're tough on your dog in the home. Instead of having to leave the dog everywhere, put the dog up when people come over. Does that make sense? It can happen. So anyway, kind of back to your question. All right. So when you're wrestling with your dog, you know, this is kind of a cool thing to evaluate because what you should never do, well, if you want to gain a little bit of respect for your dog from your dog when you're play wrestling with your dog, be able to end the play session when you want. Be able to never take a back step to your dog. All those little things matter to them. If you're backing up, if you're being a little less, if you're being more gentle than they are, you always gotta have to meet your dog where they are. And if they are a little too rough, in the mother nature world, in the dog world, you have to be rougher to let them know that that was not appropriate. Just like a mother dog and their puppy. When the mother dog is teaching bite inhibition to a puppy, the mother just bites hard enough. Not too hard, but just enough. So the dog goes, well, that wasn't comfortable. Let me try something else that works. And I can still have fun. So that's what you're going to have to do. And all of us have it in us. You know, it's all instinctual for all of us. We all have that, you know, we all have what it takes already to be who we need to be for our animals. Period. It's simple language. I mean, it is. It's nonverbal. Or maybe it's not. Maybe some of it's verbal. Anyway. But you will have to teach your dog what is appropriate and what's not. Your husband somehow is displaying that that message. Your husband is explaining that somehow, some way. Maybe he's bigger. Size does matter in the dog world. Dog smell. If a dog smells bear piss, some of them will run. And those are facts. Even some dogs who are bred to track bear, when they smell when they smell bear urination, they will run. Size matters, which is why some dogs hate men. And it ain't because no man abused them. It could just be that the dog is actually just being extra cautious because there is a bigger human being in the present. I mean, in its presence. Okay, so don't tell me. I get this a lot. Oh, he must have been abused by men. He hates men. It's like, oh, whatever. You guys, that's not right. That's not right. Your dog very much so may not have been abused by a man. Okay? It's just, in my opinion, that's pretty intelligent of the dog to say, hey, this human is a little bit bigger, probably cause me a little bit more harm. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious of this bigger being. It's just kind of logic. Tips on recall with high drive dog in chase of a rabbit. Tips on recall with high drive dog in chase of a rabbit. So first of all, you'll have to make sure the dog recall is really good without a rabbit. Dog should be able to come to you without any distraction. Let's get that out the way. If you've got that out the way, then you will probably need an electric collar to get the dog to listen to you when you say come. May need a little bit more motivation, you know? So, but first and foremost, make it easier on the dog. Make sure that recall is solid before you ask the dog to recall in the presence of a rabbit. All right. Thanks for your question. Feel free to ask another. What behavior is it time to fix my dog? What behaviors it is time to fix my dog? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? I don't know what you mean. All right. Let's keep on keeping on. Hey, you want to know something? So far, I think that I've been really fortunate to be able to spend so much time with dogs who come from a bad background or just dogs in general. And I would encourage. Now I have a 16-month-old son, and it has really made me so much better as a dog trainer raising my son. And it's very beneficial that I already know so much of what to do actually when it comes to him because of dogs. Because of dogs, bringing them back to balance, and then also bringing ourselves to balance too. Because at the end of the day, people who are hurting inside, this is going to kind of sound a little preachy or like you know what they call it. I don't know, but um, in the dog training industry or just in dogs in general, people who are hurting seem to gravitate towards animals more because animals don't judge. And People who have problems with people who are antisocial gravitate towards animals. And when I was in high school, I was definitely uh, antisocial. I was quiet. I did not like the environment I grew up in. But but my journey as a dog trainer and just owning a dog has really brought forth um, certain things about myself. And so that's kind of what dogs can do for you, man. They can there are it is true that animals are mirrors to your soul. And and so you have a you have a good opportunity to recognize that, yeah, the dog may come from a rescue situation, this, that, and the other, but that's only one side of it, and it's a small side of it, especially after some time. If you have a rescue dog and you've had it for a year and the dog is still has issues, um, dog has certain issues, then it is you can use that as a challenge to help the dog through that. But it's going to take you looking at yourself too to really achieve the optimum relationship with your dog. Because the more sort of uh, happy as a person you are, the better you can be for your relationships, dogs included. Anywho, I don't want to get into that, man. I don't want to sound like a some sort of motivational whatever, but it's true. That's just what dogs have provided me. I've taken a deep look into myself for the benefit of my dogs. So, anywho, we'll end it on that, you guys. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for all your questions. We'll see you guys next Thursday. We'll probably go at 8 again. I don't know. We'll see. But give me a thumbs up, like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. And we'll see you guys next time. All right. Thank you guys. Bye bye.